In our last video about current Roblox trends being bad, we talked about how the golden era of Roblox has already passed and how today's target audience is very different to what it used to be, slandering the front page of Roblox games like Grow a Garden or for brainrots. That's actually a thing, I said that as a joke. Um, However, does that mean that there aren't any new good games that are still being made? No, not at all. Actually, the platform could be considered way better than what it used to be 5 years ago or so. However, the actually good games that keep us coming back to the platform are never really getting pushed by Roblox and are often left unseen and not getting the attention that they most definitely deserve. Thankfully, games such as Better Discovery exist that filter out the slop of the main page and leave us with the gems that are actually worth playing. So in this video, we'll be going over some criminally underrated games that deserve much more attention than they are currently getting, starting off with Project Remix. It's an arcade first-person shooter that's heavily focused on good movement and build variety. With the quality of the gameplay and the fast-paced nature of it, I'm really surprised that it stays under 100 concurrent players at all times. What I really like about this game is the amount of choices you have in your own playstyle, and even those choices having their own subcategories. For example, you can run a rocket launcher, a double rocket launcher, or be considered a true melee by combining the two only for movement and not for damage. That is exactly the build that I'm running in the background clips. And weapons are only one of the categories. There's a lot of depth to this game, like perks giving you extra health, speed, and so on, as well as many other weapons to choose from that could fit pretty much any style you could think of. Especially with additional perks that can be chosen, for example Arcana, which is essentially a mid-round gambling system that could help you, but could also completely ruin your enjoyment of the game if you get unlucky with a go-to-sleep card. Of course, even the abilities have an insane variety with things like smoke bombs, grappling hooks, or literal wall hacks. There is something for every type of player. I'm genuinely surprised that it doesn't compete with some of the top games on the platform, as it definitely has that zoomer low attention span factor figured out, as well as being catered to literally any type of player. The only flaw I can think of is it being a bit too intense for some people. It's a completely different story with this next game, Ragdoll Universe. It's yet another arcade shooter, except this one is set in third person and the movement is different from what you're used to. I mean, it's literally in the name after all. The ragdolling aspect is the main thing for this game. Getting shot, moving, jumping, getting hit by jet-powered wheelchairs all have wacky ragdoll physics. That's exactly what makes the game fun when you're just trying to kill some time and play something that doesn't take itself very seriously. Though that is not to say that the game is very easy either. Actually, hitting someone consistently while their whole hitbox shifts and changes each time they get hit can become very hard, especially with some of the weapons that have insane recoil. Exactly like the movement physics, the gunplay can be quite goofy too. With items like bombs attached to toilet plungers or literal nukes in a briefcase, the game never really gets stale. The next highly underrated game is Hellreaver Arena. It's a first-person shooter. Can you tell what my favorite genre of games are yet? It's a game that doesn't even look like it should be on Roblox. It genuinely looks like a modern Quake Championship remake, from the weapons to the movement to the visuals. Everything about this game feels very smooth and fun. However, the main issue is this. Yeah, the chances of it actually having players online is slim to none. So realistically, the biggest downside to the game is not even the gameplay or any of the mechanics, but the amount of people playing, which is zero more often than not. It's a heavily underrated fast-paced shooter that has a super high skill ceiling, though it has no one to reach it. I'm not gonna dwell on this game for too long, as the chances of you actually running into people and getting the chance to play it are very slim. However, if you have friends that could join you, you should definitely check it out. Okay, from now on, no more PvP shooters. Let's move on to a completely different genre. Do you like toes or hoes? Then you'll like Sylbut. It's a bullet hell with a really interesting story. You play as a character who awakens with amnesia and then go on a journey to ascend through the layers and ultimately regain your lost memories, dealing with a lot of cool characters you meet along the way. When I saw the first shot, I already knew this game would be peak. Holy! And I'm not gonna lie, I'm horrible at bullet hell games. And even so, I actually found myself enjoying both the story and the gameplay, dodging, using abilities, going into encounters that simply feel unfair. Like, why does this guy have the right to just turn half of my monitor off? I was already struggling as it was, bro. Just like Hellreaver, it usually has 0 players, even though it's getting updated with new content often. So if you're into bullet hell games or have never tried one in your life, I highly suggest that you try this one out, as it's very beginner friendly, but can also be played on harder modes for more experienced players. And you'd be one of the early players who tried this game as it's still in beta. Next up is Voxalb Blade. This game is by far the deepest mechanically from the ones we've covered so far. If you like open world RPGs, this game is made for you, especially if you're the type to explore every corner of a map before moving on to the next area. Just the world building alone has enough to cure your boredom for days. With random little crevices having all kinds of lore and mechanics that most players will not even find throughout their entire playtime. What I really like about this game is the weapon upgrading mechanic that allows you to cater your entire build to one weapon, because you can essentially upgrade each part of it to your liking. There's surprisingly a lot of freedom when leveling a character, with the game letting you choose your own playstyle rather than pushing you to one path based on a race you selected that RPGs usually tend to do. It does so through sword crafting, magic using, and guilds that alter the entire path of your build. The combat is surprisingly fun as well, considering it only has a dash and a block mechanics for defenses, and normal attacks, crits, and magic spells for your main offensive skills. The enemies are made to be beatable by everyone, but not for free, without any skill involved. Despite having the biggest dedicated community from the games that I've covered so far, it still stays heavily underrated, as it could realistically compete with games like Deepwoken just for the open worldedness of it. Okay, I might have lied a little when I said there wouldn't be any more shooters, but this is a little bit different. Cold Elegy is a top-down survival game with a winter/army aesthetic and an infection that is spreading throughout the world. Your job is to survive and kill NPCs that are already infected and are trying to kill you to spread that infection. You need to be alert at all times, as enemies can come whenever they please and you're in a constant time crunch, needing to inject yourself with an antidote that is pretty scarce around the map to not succumb to the plague and die by natural causes rather than be killed by the infected. With limited time, resources, and a rapidly increasing difficulty each day, the game is definitely worth checking out if you enjoy top-down survival games like Vampire Survivors, for example, as well as if you're good at resource management and decision making. Because trust me when I tell you, this game is not forgiving. It's actually newly released, but it hasn't gotten the attention it most definitely deserves. Right now, it sits at a concurrent... Oh, shit. Yeah, it just got taken down for being too bloody. Rest in peace. The last game on the list, and my personal favorite, is Assassin. No, not that one, the original one. You get a target, and you're also someone else's target. There's really not much else to say about it. It used to be on the same level as Murder Mystery, but now it barely pulls 50 players max. It still has a really active trading community, and the people that actually do play it are really devoted to the game. So please play Assassin, man, I need to see new people there.